All right, everybody. Good evening. What is going on? Hope you guys are doing well. Got a little bit of Seattle Seahawks news today, both contractual and also roster based. So let's go ahead and get through it here. No, the Seahawks have not, as of me recording this video, signed Dante Fowler or any other edge rusher, although they may have done something kind of interesting to try to address the edge rusher situation. Your mileage may vary on whether or not it'll be effective, but let's get into it. So this video is sponsored by Prize Picks, and let's go ahead and start with the contractual stuff. Brady Henderson has this tweet here. Earlier this afternoon, the Seahawks officially signed 5 of their 8 draft picks. And in my experience, being a Seahawks fan, this seems like a pretty quick turnaround. I know we didn't sign everybody, and we didn't sign the really big ones as well, so that's also notable, but generally speaking, I feel like you don't get draft picks to sign their contracts until weeks, if not months after the draft. So I don't know if this is just reflective of a different way that we're doing things. I don't know if this is just coincidence, but I feel like in recent years, the Seahawks have generally done a little bit of a better job getting pen to paper fast with these players. Could be reading something into it. I know it doesn't really affect us that much, but the 5 players that have signed now are Julian Neal, corner, Bo Stevens, guard, Andre Fuller, corner, Devin Eastern, defensive tackle, and Michael Dansby, corner. Now, obviously, rookie minicamp starts tomorrow, but one thing to observe within that is that you can still participate in rookie minicamp without having a contract. It happens all the time. In fact, it's expected that you'll still participate in rookie minicamp. And if you get hurt in rookie minicamp, the team will still take care of you. There's like that understanding there. So that's not really a factor here, but it's good to know that these guys were quick to get on board. Now, obviously, these guys are all making relatively minor amounts of money on their rookie deals. So it's not like there's a big commitment here. It's not like there's a big consideration to make. If you go to the Spotrac page, you can add it up. And these 5 players, Neal, Stevens, Fuller, Eastern, and Dansby, are making about $5 million against the cap for 2026. And then the other 3 players that haven't signed yet are going to be about 10.4 if you put it all together, 10.5 maybe, somewhere around there. So when you do the math, yeah, it's a little bit less than half of the total rookie draft class commitment. So, yeah. And obviously, those guys, you would never expect them to cause a fuss, right? Anybody that is not a first-round pick or a very early second-round pick should not be causing any kind of a contractual fuss. I know that with last year, we saw some of the top second-round picks start to negotiate for fully guaranteed deals. We saw this a little bit with Nicky Manwari last year, but we don't have anybody like that this year. Price is going to get his contract fully guaranteed. We know that because first-round picks do. Bud Clark doesn't really have a leg to stand on here because he was the last pick of the second round, and then everything just kind of cascades from there. So these 5 guys now officially under contract, which is good, but I'm not going to act like it really changes anything all that much. Now, the other 3 guys should go quickly. The only guy who could potentially cause any kind of a fuss would be Price, and his contract is not going to be huge either, so there's not a lot of room here. Spoon, when he signed his rookie contract, did cause a little bit of a fuss, but that was largely because he was a top 5 pick. If you like sports, the best way to make them better and more exciting is using Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks, all you got to do is pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. It's the daily fantasy stuff, but it's made super easy over there. Whatever sport you're into, give it a shot. And right now, Prize Picks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All you have to do is use promo code HMA. I've had a great time on Prize Picks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing very easy, and it makes watching the games way more exciting. Be sure to check out the social feeds feature so you can share lineups with your friends and tail partners or even fade their picks. Right now, Prize Picks is offering odds on the NFL draft. You have who's going to go where, what each team is going to do, how many of each position is going to go in each round, and so on and so on. Get on over to Prize Picks. Take advantage of that. So download Prize Picks today, America's #1 sports app, and remember to use the promo code HMA. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So that's the contractual stuff. Now, a couple of roster notes that are maybe a little bit interesting. We got this from Josh Dahuman here. He tweeted this out, and he wasn't the only guy who noticed this, but he was the first guy that I saw who noticed this. Riley Mills, his designation has been changed on the official team roster website. And if you go to it right now, he is listed as a defensive end. He's not a defensive tackle, or nor is he a hybrid where they go like DE/DT. It's just defensive end. So that is a little bit of an interesting update, and maybe it indicates what this team is thinking about doing at the very least at the moment. Because like I've talked about a lot, right now the team is a little bit thin on the outside. They are a little bit thin at edge. Maybe Riley Mills is going to become an unconventional edge rusher of some sort. Now, there's another way to look at this. The Seahawks are nominally a 3-4 defense, right? They're nominally a 3-4. They're just never in 3-4 almost because they always play nickel or dime, and they very rarely get into base. So in a 3-4, the defensive ends are actually the two guys on either side of the nose tackle. And in that context, Riley Mills being a defensive end makes all the sense in the world. It only becomes a little bit weird when you start looking at him as a traditional edge rusher. So what exactly the Seahawks mean by putting him at defensive end, I'm not 100% sure. It is worth noting that Mike Morris gets the same designation, and he similarly is a guy that might be a defensive end in a 3-4 traditionally, but not as a stand-up edge. So it might just be that. But Riley Mills, he is an atypical player, and I mean, look, 291 pounds, that's what he weighed in at the combine last year before the draft. That is much heavier than most edge rushers out there. But there is a long and storied history of unconventional players finding success at positions that their body types would not typically work for. Red Bryant's a great example, right? The Seahawks played Red Bryant at end, and that guy was 40 pounds heavier probably than Riley Mills. So maybe this is kind of the creative solution. I mean, we do talk about how sometimes Mike McDonald doesn't seem to be a big fan of forcing people into certain positions. Doesn't seem to be a big fan of saying, okay, well, you look like this and your physical profile is such, so therefore you have to play here. And I don't really mean that so much in terms of like he's going to have guys that don't belong playing in certain spots, but he wants guys that can be flexible. He wants his best guys on the field, even if it doesn't immediately make sense. Like when the Seahawks drafted Eman Wari last year, most people, myself included, looked at him as a safety, but very quickly, McDonald was like, get this guy at nickel corner. And that's kind of where I think he is permanently at now, and he's great at it. We also had this. This is more of a novelty, I think, but the Seahawks moved Tyrone Broden to cornerback, apparently. So Tyrone Broden, 6'5", possibly taller. Some people think he's like 6'7". I don't know if I buy that, but even at 6'5", if he is a cornerback, he is the tallest cornerback in the NFL. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is going to manifest into anything because more than likely Broden's just a practice squatter. But it is notable that we're moving some guys around trying to find room for them. So, yeah, I'm not here to suggest that Broden's going to become some notable player for us. I doubt he ever even makes the active roster, honestly, because for as physically talented as he is, there's so many obstacles between him and actually being a good player that it's hard to imagine him overcoming them. But nevertheless, kind of interesting. I mean, you have your Reek Woolen replacement, I guess, on some level, like Tyrone Broden. He's got the speed and the size to be like a Reek Woolen, and the main problem with Broden is that he can't catch. He has bad hands. So Broden, as somebody who doesn't have hands, that kind of fits in at cornerback. By the way, there was also a listing on the website, I think, that had the corner we drafted from Arizona, Dansby, moving to wide receiver. That was a mistake. The team's already pulled that one back. So no, Dansby's not moving to receiver. There were some other things that came out of the press conference earlier today, like they announced all the numbers for the rookies, but nothing that I'm terribly compelled by. So I'm not really going to get into that too much right now, but just wanted to go ahead and cover some ground here. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. And yeah, tomorrow we are turning the page on the month, and we will be talking at more length about some of these rookies, I think, starting tomorrow.